do here is set this like here, okay? And actually, let me point it. Actually, sorry about that. Well, this what do you call those tripod stands? It's a little messed up. Anyways, so we're gonna do this. Show you the tones, some of the metal tones that I have put together on the Boss ME90. And first, I'm gonna do like a crunch phaser. As you can see, if it's pointing correctly, we're taking the ME90, having it line out, going into the Roland KC110 stereo. It's really a stereo keyboard amp. By the way, yours truly, Rockin' Dave the Real Deal. No, from my Southwest Florida. Gotta put that in there, man. But like I said, we're going directly into, this is what I use a lot in the studio here when I'm doing any type of demos or working on creating a sound or creating a song. And it really is a keyboard amp. Could be a 3-channel keyboard slash acoustic slash PA. What makes it kind of unique is that you got two stereo 6-inch speakers, a bass port, and then two tweeters. That's what gives it the full range sound. The EQ on there is only a high and low. So I hope you guys could hear that. Let's put it up a little bit. So right now I have it on. It's called the X Crunch on the Boss ME90. I've got it set. I'll show you the settings. I'm just gonna play around a little bit here, and I'll show you the settings here. What I got. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is the different settings that I put on here. But before I do that, I want to show you one of the features that this Roland amp has. And this is an older model. I'm going to bring the camera up close here. One of the features it has, guys, is this. You see the effects? You got, well, I got off. You got reverb, chorus, and wide. I'm going to show you what this wide does. You know, I'll show what the acoustic, what the reverb does and all that. But I'm going to show you what this wide does. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. This tripod's messed up. So, the same settings. This is what the wide sounds like. That's what the wide turned down. with the white off. Here's with the white on. So if anyone remembers back in the 80s when we had the GK 250ml amp, it was basically that type of a sound, but built into the amp. Really didn't have that much strong distortion, but the cabinet was a metal cabinet, and like this does have a port to sit on a speaker stand. So did the GKML, and I think I got that I think it actually came out in 1985, but I got it in 1987, 88, when I was buying the first version of the Lawsuit guitar, which was in a black finish, which was the Gibson Epiphone Spotlight guitar. And then for whatever reason, I switched to get the amplifier. I don't know why I didn't hold off and get the guitar, but I'm glad I did experience with the amp, because it was 100 watts, and when you hit that expand button, oh man, it was all, the sound was like a wall of sound. So here, let me show you what I got going on with the ME90. Here, sorry guys, if this will work. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I think I'm gonna raise this. See, this tripod, the thing's broke. Well, actually, let me do this. Actually, let me do this, guys. So here, so you can actually see. It's not working. Alright, I want to see if I could zoom in on this. Wait, actually, let me just do this, guys. I really apologize about this. I don't buy expensive. I'm not a photographer, I'm a musician. Why the hell am I going to buy expensive stuff, right? Okay. So, here's my setting. It's X Crunch. On this particular switch here, foot switch number 3, I have it basically set to the metalcore, which I've never used. You can see, here actually is my EQ for the amp. Now here's the EQ, or the tone setting for the distortion. So, we're going to do this. Put this back here. Again, guys, this is horrible. I hate to put you through this, but again, I refuse to buy expensive camera. I'm not a photographer. I don't want to be right now. So let me take this back to the. So here would be just the amp with its crunch sound. So this would be the amp setting without the distortion on. So it's pretty clean, but not all the way clean. Now for here, for my preset number 2, I have the X modded, but instead of the core distortion, I'm using the metal zone distortion. And if I were to go to my manual mode, turn off the phaser, that's what that sounds like. This is what I do like about the layout of this pedal. I could go back and forth between memory mode and manual mode, which manual mode is like stomp box. Here's my phaser. Phaser off. Here's my delay. What I do like about the delay, it'll trail even after you shut it off. Hear it? It's trailed. And for my first setting here, I have it at the again. It's the X modded, and it's the same with the metal, the zone setting, except the mids are boosted up a little bit and with a slightly more volume. So this could be like my solo channel. It's hard for me to play sitting traditional way. I always sit classical way because I get more leverage that way. So that's the settings on that. Not too bad, you know. You just got to really mess with everything. And keep in mind that what you set on this for one amp or one speaker could sound different on a different amp and a speaker, you know. Everything, there's variables. There's definitely variables. So I was messing with this earlier. I figured, well, let me mess with the X modded. We got X modded and the X gain, X high gain, and X regular gain. And that's, or yeah, crunch. You got X crunch, X high gain, modded, juggernaut, and then X modded on their settings for the amp settings for distortion. Much different than when I go to the channel I'm normally using for my shows when I'm playing my fusion, you know. Much different. And then I got this user bank number 2 basically set for and my Univibe. And then switch number 3 would be more of a crunchier. And then I have with my control, I'll hit for the Univibe on there. So if I'm going back and forth, like, you know, for heavier sound. So I'll go back and forth between those two settings for that. But otherwise, you know, it's just for my shows with the Fusion, I'll do mostly what I've got set on user bank number 1, which is basically like my distortion, more of a cleaner distortion. And then with my control switch, I could turn off the distortion and just ride on the amp's distortion. Now I'm using the Ibanez RGA reverse headstock, so the pickup's a little bit more hotter, and it does have a different tone, obviously, than the Les Paul or the PRS. And I know there's people that don't agree with the wood tone statements, but here's what I got to say about all that: the pickups and your amps, and your whatever effects you're using, and the speakers. That's gonna make a huge difference right away. It's gonna kind of mask everything, but what that underlying um, thing that you cannot put your finger on. Well, what? Why does it sound different? What there's a little extra something there. That is the strings resonating on that body of the guitar. Because your pickups, that's what they do. They pick up string vibration, and then they just transfer it to whatever source you're using, and those sources do affect it big time. But don't rule out the type of wood and how your guitar is made, because all those components, that's what they're screwed into. That's what they're bolted onto. They're attached to the body of the guitar, whether it's a bolt on, a neck screw, or a set neck. They are all going to have slight variations. They realize, and that's what people can't put their finger on. They're like, why does this guitar sound different than that? It's not just the pickups. There's just some. There's a little extra element that's there, and they can't put their finger on it. It is the way the guitar is made. I know that might upset some people, and it's not supposed to upset anybody, but it's just really common sense when you really look at it. You know. Okay, so that's basically that. Now I'm going to switch to the Cordoba, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how you can approach playing classical and flamenco style guitar, especially if you're playing metal and within your set you got to play a classical piece or something that's soft. How to approach things? It's basically how you would approach it, by playing it soft. Now what I'm going to do here is unplug that there, and we're going to put the Ibanez back up in the rack here. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. We were gonna go live, but we had such a busy week, and it was a very good week for us, very productive. So we just got very very busy, and that's why I didn't go live on Wednesday or during the week. Plus wasn't feeling too good Friday and Saturday. I'm still getting a little bit of sore throat here, so. Okay, what we're gonna do here now is we are going to disconnect that. So you go right into the Cordoba, and grab that, and I'm going to show you guys. Maybe I'll do a little bit with the pick. Yeah, this as well. Okay, now here we go. There's this. And what we're going to do here is switch this around. Okay, now. I'll put a little reverb on here. Okay. These little picks I went down even more. So from a 1.5 millimeter to a 0.88 mil now to a 0.73 millimeter. And it's actually not too bad. Especially on here when I'm trying to match tone. For my fingers and my fingernails to a pick that would be similar to it in thickness. When it's too thick, I notice there'll be a little bit imbalances, you know. It does take a little while to get used to the floppiness though, but not too bad. Not too bad. Now, to approach classical guitar, it's a different animal, and the best way to approach something, if you're going from playing something heavy and fast and loud to something soft and subtle, you really have to approach it that way. And if you're a finger pick, the best way to approach is with the flesh of your fingers in combination with the nails, but mostly with the flesh. So let's say you start off with a melody. Uh, so I'll pick mostly over by the sound hole, and then gradually, if I want a sharper sound, by the bridge, you're going to get a sharper pitch. A little excerpt on a piece called Astorius Lyanda. Now, here's a problem when you get your thumbnail a little bit chewed up there. It's right there. So it's more of the flesh than the nail hitting. So that's more of the nail. That's more of the flesh. So when you're in situations like that, it happens to me a lot. You have to come up with ways to make the notes sound as even value. And what I mean by that, tone-wise. Because otherwise, what's going to happen, you're going to get imbalances in tone. And that happens. Let's see. So that's... But how you approach playing softly and learning your dynamics, that really comes from your hands. That comes from you knowing where to play to achieve what type of tone you want, and then how hard you strike the strings. And it really works better when the guitar is not plugged in, or if you... This guitar also has an internal mic. Again, how you approach playing, you're over the sound hole and lightly, not real hard. If you hit it hard, that's what's going to happen. If you want to make a statement. See, playing music is also a way of playing emotions, and you're making a statement. play. I had one of my students tell me this. You don't play notes, you play music. We use notes, but you have a choice. You could just play notes or you play music. How you play music is with the notes that you're using, is your approach to your dynamics, experimenting, see what sounds best to you. If that is what you're trying to achieve, a nice soft tone, then you go for that and you just experiment. If you're looking for a sharper tone, and just lightly touching the string makes a big difference. Vibrato. So see, it's not always about how much technique you can throw in and how fast you can do it, but it's how you approach playing those strings. Your dynamics is, which is like your volume, how you bring your volume up and down, and how hard you hit the note, and what your intention is. See, to me, this sounds like very soft, very sad notes. You know, one way you could learn how to do this is if you're watching a movie and you turn the sound down and you try to play what to the scene that you're seeing without getting the soundtrack that you already know in your head. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you gotta watch. If you watch something you've never seen before, turn the volume down, and if something looks, let's say it looks sad, try to come up with something that's sad. If it looks adventurous, try to come up with something adventurous, and that'll definitely help you your playing style to develop into learning how to create to scenes that you see. Now, if you notice, a lot of times when I'm finger picking and I'll play 3 notes per string, I'll tend to use my index, middle, and ring finger, known in classical guitar as I, M, and A. And if I want to build up speed, I could do it pretty quick with the tremolo. And the tremolo is really used with the ring finger, middle, and index. Ring, middle, index, in that order. Ring, middle, index, known as AMI, AMI, AMI. And it's literally like this. Ring, middle, index, AMI. Then I'll just add certain notes to it. With this, it helps build in the tremolo. And with tremolo, I'm going to use a D minor chord in this example. My fingers are going to play this melody after I pluck a note, arpeggio to D. So it's going to be like this. When you speed it up, you get this. And it sounds like there's 2 people playing, but how to develop that really is to take any chord. In this case, I'm taking a D minor chord, and I'll pluck with my thumb, and then the melody. The melody will be, in this case, that A on the high E string. Then I hit my next string, my thumb. Then my thumb hits the note on the G string. Then my thumb hits the note on the B string. Thumb comes back up to G, then D, then A. So I'm gonna give you the notes, the name of the notes within the score. You got D, A, D, F, and then A, the high A, is the melody. 440A is melody. So we have D, A, D, F, D, A, D. How I developed this in high school, being impatient, sitting at the desk doing this, not realizing what I was doing. Now, there's a thing called Roscatos that's used in classical and flamenco guitar. I do it backwards. They teach you proper way: pinky, third finger, middle finger, index, and then come up with the thumb. I do it backwards because I'm self-taught on this, but I was able to develop this and make it work for me. I do it with index, middle, third, and pinky, and then up. So when I'm playing a rhythm and I want it to sound a certain way, so if I'm doing anything that's bossa nova type, then I will focus on the flesh of my fingers. So you have your E minor 9 chord, goes to E major 9, and then E major 7. Now, I have a song that's on our CD, Hope on the Horizon, which on this particular CD is the only acoustic song that's on there. It's called Growing Old Together. And the main movement is this. Actually, that's the intro. So the main movement is. So there's a lot of jumping around on this particular movement. You're playing a G on the low E side, and then you're playing F sharp, and then you're playing open B and A, then G and A, and then F sharp minor. minor, F sharp minor to G major, then G major, A major to B minor. Then I'll loop. Well, when on the recording, I've recorded the rhythm tracks, but as I'm looping the backdrop rhythm. And then I'll come in with the pick. And this is where these thinner picks are going to come in really handy, because I'm not going to have these tonal differences. A little sharper, but not harsh like the heavier picks would be. So see, a lot of times it's not always about how fast you could make things. Of course, I could put a lot of different things in it, but I'm looking for a certain vibe, and that's why I'll do the things that I do, because it actually fits for what I'm hearing in my head. My advice for any musician out there, or anyone looking to develop their own unique style, is just that: develop your own unique style, because you're always gonna sound like you, no matter how hard you try to sound like anybody else. And because of that, that's what gives it the uniqueness. If everybody was sounding the same, it wouldn't make any sense. You know, it's like food. We have different types of foods out there for a certain reason. And it's basically because, there's different, people have different tastes. Having that variety. And I think it's very, very good. When I was younger, I worked so hard on my right hand picking technique and my speed hand. I just found another video that's on my other YouTube channel, Dave Byron, and I think it's titled Classical Guitar Part 1. And I'm actually playing some melodies and soloing over a B minor chord where we have the added C sharp here. And then my third finger comes down to sharpen the fifth, to play. In this case, we have B, F sharp, and then B, F sharp, and C sharp. And of course, part of the B minor here would be your D, your F sharp, and your B. And then my third finger comes down to play that G. Anyways, that's the backdrop to the melody I was playing over. And I don't think the video was longer than maybe 2.5 minutes. But I came in with some finger picking, tremolo, and then some of the fastest lines I think I've ever played. I mean, it's just unbelievable how fast and how clear that they came out. I should try to download it and put it on this channel, because I can't believe I was playing that quick, and it fit. It fit. Everything I was doing was fitting. So that's the thing, when you approach playing music, you're playing music. It's not always about an exercise, unless that's your intention. Or what I should say is, if your intention is to make it a thrill ride, adventurous thrill ride, then absolutely the shredding and the excitement, that is the focal point right there. But if you had to do something, play a number that's right after the excitement, now you have to play something that's low key. It's learning how to take all your emotions and bringing it down. Playing guitar is very emotional. Playing music in general is very, very emotional. Now, earlier I was giving some guitar lessons, and my friend that's in Oklahoma, we were online, and we had a little bit of issue with Skype. It wasn't taking the audio with the guitar, so we had to reroute everything. So that kind of pushed me back on what I wanted to do for my live stream. But with the art, we're making some really good progress here because the painting I'm working on, I didn't add on anything more to that last painting I did in the last live stream because I was working on a little bit on some of these quick sketches with some of the markers and the soft pastel as an underpainting. But I started working on like the thumbnail right there, just kind of with the Faber Castell ink, fine point pens, markers, and stuff like this. Now this is on this size paper is a 6 by 9, but I got some more I'm going to be doing on a 22 by 30 inch paper. So I got a thicker marker for me to do that because those fine point 8 and point 0.01 is very fine, and that'll be for a lot of your fine detailing and that. But we're working on stuff like that. But really, for the most part here, excuse me, kind of lose my voice here. Sorry about that, guys. Um, it's good to learn different styles of music, but learn the styles that you really want to learn because you're gonna shine on that. If you try to be the master of everything, not saying you can't do it, but be prepared. It could take you a little longer. And part of that is not just so much the complexity of the piece you're trying to learn, it's also the style. Does that style really gel with you? Do you really make a connection to that style? Because if not, you might have a tendency to kind of reject it a little bit. And therefore, you're not going to put your all into it, meaning you're all into learning how to play it, you know? So that's why, for me personally, I don't jump on all these bandwagons and try to do all these projects. When I was younger, yeah, because I'm trying to get myself out there. But as you get older and as you get yourself established, you really don't have to do that. You can start to focus on more of the things you really want to do and bringing that to life. Another thing is this: if you're at a point in your playing that you feel like you're not making these huge technical growths, however, you're making huge musical growths, well, you're still growing. Just keep that in mind. Because again, since I got back into doing art and that, the channels I like to follow, there's a lot of them, but there's this one girl. Her name is Krista Irene Art, and she does a lot of. Now she's getting into the oil pastels, but she does a lot with the marker and that, and she just creates right there on the fly. And she'll say a lot of times it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to give you a visual, basically. To take you to the imagination, take you somewhere. And what I do like about her is musicians could follow a lot of what her advice is that don't worry so much about like color theory here with us, music theory and things of that nature. The creative process is literally that, the creative process. And keep in mind when you're going to make music, when you're creating music, you're creating a what I like to think of is you're creating an outlet for somebody. And because music is very emotional, to me it is. So I approach it that way, very emotional. I don't worry about scales and things of that nature. I know they're there, and I do use them and things of that nature. But in the creative process, I think about how can I make that note sound the way I want it to sound to depict this emotion. Again, one of the greatest guitarists that is perfect for doing this is Carlos Santana. Whether you like his music or you don't like his music, his approach to playing is very, very melodic. And when you see the videos advertising his master class, he'll make these statements. It's not about the guitar, the strings, the amps, or the effects. It's your mind, body, heart, and soul into one. And then he's playing a note, and he said, "It's not gonna sound like that if you don't stand like that." Meaning, if you don't put the emotion to it, that message won't be conveyed. Basically, the way you would think it would be conveyed. And his playing along with Al Di Meola and along with the shredding, they all coexist. But there was a guy, his name is David. I can't remember his last name begins with a W. He's a fusion guy, and he had a few weeks ago. He put a, or maybe it was a couple of months ago. He had a video up where he didn't understand, what's the big deal about Carlos Santana. He didn't get it. He says, "Man, I'm watching Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and Ingve and all these guys, and they're shredding away, and they got technical command in them." Then I watch Carlos Santana, and he's doing these pentatonics and doing them real slow. And first he didn't get it, but he knew that there was something very different about him. And it wasn't until he saw that ad with his Carlos's masterclass where he realized it's not how fast you play notes; it's what you're doing with those notes. Are you playing the notes harder to convey a certain message? Are you playing it softer to convey a message? Are you leaving space in between because that space in between also makes a statement? See, with instrumental music, this becomes our voice. And that being said, it's not about how much you can go. And I'm guilty, especially when I was younger, man, to play as many notes as you could pop in there, the more the better. But I was still always into the fusion thing, and then again, growing up and listening to classical music, motion picture soundtrack, and Ramsey Lewis, jazz pianist Ramsey Lewis, and then later on Chick Corea. So it was a different world I came from. Really, I still had the flair for the melodies and especially major and minor seven chords, stuff like that. It gave me a very calm feeling, and because the way those shapes are, I was able to figure out, come up with melodies just the way like a human voice would be. And then having my moments where I'm shredding, and it would fit, but I would fit it to the tempo. I could take my styling to another level of speed if I really wanted to, but I'm satisfied where I'm at because see now I got this whole big pot of gold, I call it, of all this musical style notes that I personally like. And maybe it's not as wide of a range as some people, and that's fine too. It's just those other styles I'm just not really into. I respect them, but I'm not into them. So I'm not going to do it justice. So I stick with what I do, and I just focus now on just the music and what I'm going to put in here and what I'm going to put in there. See, to me, music is painting pictures with sound, and art is bringing those pictures to a life. Imaginary. I like call imaginary life. If you're doing an impressionistic painting, so the two worlds coexist together. One of the ways you could gauge your musical quality, your phrasing quality is play and just try to close your eyes and play, or play, record yourself, and when you listen to the playback, close your eyes and listen. And chances are you're going to hear this is what I did. You're going to hear certain notes that are going to take you to places that are like, wow, man, that sounds great. And other notes that are like, that doesn't really fit there. So you'll kind of get critical on yourself, and then you'll start to learn how to develop a style that's all your own, where you'll know what to use and when to use it. You know, that's what makes a great musician. And again, if you're in it for the long haul, again, I've been playing 50 years now. And of course, I could tell you what the thing is, people have this imagination or this impression on themselves that okay, I have to learn every single technique out there. I got to play it just as good, if not better than the guy playing it, and just as fast or faster. And I got to do. That's not really the case. The case is to sound as musical as possible. That right there is the key. Because if you're in it for the long haul, you're in it for the long haul. You can have many more years to do all these things and to take your music into different realms. That's why, um, well, here, the people who were the shredders when we were younger, as we get older, we, some of us, learn how to adapt other elements to our playing. And then we could still shred, but now we got these new elements rather than, sounding old and tired. And if you're doing a lot of gigging, a lot of touring, a lot of traveling, you're gonna get tired, especially as you get older. So how do you get that balance? You know. Now here's the risk. You write newer music that is a little bit more subtle, not so. You might lose some of the shred crowd, maybe not. Maybe they'll get it. But then for what you do lose, you gain. Always remember that. So there's really never a loss. You're just shifting things. I thought I seen something pop up here. Hey, what is happening? I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, Tyler Shepard, what's happening? Yeah, Tyler, you and I forget the guy's name. How can I forget his name? But yeah, really fast to pick. You see, I'm gonna give you guys what is what I gone through. Okay, I like doing melodies because I come from a different generation, way before any of those things called shredding, and you had it in the jazz. Uh, but you see, I also do flamenco. So my whole approach is, I like to say, it's more than one dimensional. So that's why I approach the thing. And then plus, as I was getting with the AFib thing, I have to watch, because I had monitor my progress, my picking exercises that I do. And when I have a thing called a cardio mobile, it's a little strip of thing, and it's got an app on your phone, and it's a heart monitor, and it monitors for like 30 seconds. You put your fingers on, and it monitors what your heart rate is. Well, it's good that you get your heart pumping like when you're working out. However, when it gets pumping and it won't come down and it stays pumping, now there's an issue. And I had that situation where I was just sitting down. My heart rate was going between 140 and 150 BPMs, and all I was doing was sitting down doing nothing. So when I had to go through, I had to wear a heart monitor, I had to go do the echo test, I had to go through, they stick you in this tube, and you put stuff through your veins to make sure your arteries are not clogged and all that. I had to go through all that to make sure I was healthy, and I am healthy, but I'm still like on that fence with sometimes it wants to flare up the AFib, so I have to watch what I eat, stay away from, I got all that stuff that's low sodium, not too much salt, that pumps up my blood rate, my heart rate, and the over shredding would pump up because you're pumping up your heart rate, you're pumping up your BPMs to play all these fast movements. You're getting you to make them really come out. And that's when I started noticing. So I'm like, okay, well, if I want to stay in the race here, I'm gonna just put a cap on certain things. That's all. So I mean, my advice is to anybody that's out there, if you experience anything like that, watch what you do because when you get AFib, you're 5 times more likely to get a stroke. And some people, it's very hard to recover from that. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I'm going to be 61 next week. And I'm in the game till I'm 161. but that was part of the reason. But the other part is I do like playing melodies. I do like making those notes have that space. And that space creates a statement. There's something for everybody out there. Always remember that. And no style is better than the next style. They coexist. It's what you bring to the plate. And if a person wants to do there's a lot of shredders out there, and that you're moving excitement, keep going for it, man. If that's your thing, go for it. It is good to understand how to play slow and melodic, though, because you will need that. You definitely will need that because at one point the speed is going to get old. It will get old. And then if you don't know how to play something slow and melodic and make those statements, then it's gonna be kind of tough. You know, it's gonna be kind of tough. I have a somewhere in the house here, amongst all the things we got, a cassette tape I recorded back in 1985 when I had my Ibanez Destroyer. And here's how I would develop speed. One of the things that would encourage me. Back then, we would have the double deck cassette decks or the boom boxes with the double cassette decks, you know. So we would record ourselves and we would dub the cassette to give to our friends. Well, you had a feature called high speed dubbing. And it was always recommended when you're doing your high speed dubbing to turn the volume down because otherwise they say it could mess up the speakers. It really doesn't mess up the speakers. It just sounds real fast and high pitched. So what I actually did accidentally done one time while I was dubbing a tape to give to my friend, I forgot to turn the volume down and I heard myself playing incredibly fast, incredibly clear. Well, but the pitch was high. But I heard the moments of you know, so I was able to set my metronome to those high pace and just build on that. And that's how I was able to get it incredibly, just like you hear these guys playing fast now. That's how I was doing it back then. I did it on my acoustic and I did it on my, well, even just a couple years ago, but I did it on my electric. And when I recorded with my electric, shredding so fast I couldn't believe it. There was one thing that was missing, and I was sitting there listening to it. I'm like, there's no melody. There's no. It's not to stop that you're tired. It's to stop to make a statement. So that's why I thought, you know what, I could definitely take this shredding thing to the next level. But if it's going to come at the expense of me losing my melodic sense and my musical quality, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it because again, I do a lot of different styles and classical and flamenco and more the jazz stuff. I just love those styles of music. So when it comes down to deciding what it is that you want to do, that you have to do. You have to sit down with yourself and decide exactly what it is you want to do, and just delegate that time for those different styles. Another thing that I would do to help balance shredding and subtle playing, you know, again, this is back in the 80s. We didn't have Google, we didn't have YouTube, iPods, or anything, but we had our portable cassette players. One was called the Sony Walkman, and then you had a lot of copies of the Sony Walkman. Well, we had a lot of copies of the Sony Walkman, and it would have the reverse, it would automatically reverse the tape. You'd have to take the cassette out and turn it on and do auto reverse. But what I would do is, one song that would be metal and shredding and all that. The next song would be like a ballad, real nice and slow. One would be hard, one would be slow, one would be loud, one would be soft. One would be like a classical guitar piece, a jazz piece. Next piece would be like, live Iron Maiden or something. 'Cause that's what we had back then. So I had built this listening technique where I was able to put like in my mind a whole set list if I was going to go out and play live, which I was doing a lot. How to have a show that always had these different elements that would take a person on a journey, not just blow them away, but take them on a journey. That really helps a lot because if you're coming off of a high of excitement and speed and loud, now you got to play something soft on the acoustic guitar. You got to bring your emotions and your whole body tempo. You got to bring them down and learn how to do that. So that when you're playing something on the acoustic, classical piece, a beautiful melody, it does not sound rushed. That's the thing. So, anyways, guys, I didn't want to take up too much time. I'm starting to lose my voice here. Apologize about that. But yeah, we really appreciate everyone's watching. We are definitely checking out other platforms. We'll be putting our music and everything on some of those platforms, but we'll keep everyone posted on that as well. And we're still learning some of the apps on some of the other platforms out there. We'll keep you posted. But We are going to be doing a live gig. I think Friday we're going to be at the Music Walk. I don't know if Tyler, if you're going to be at the Music Walk. I'm glad. I hope you are. I'm glad that they're giving you days to play because you know instrumental guitar, whether you're singing or not singing, or you got singing vocal tracks playing, but it's good that Lori, she's a good girl and she's a good lady, and she has this there. She had a fusion band. I think it was at the last Music Walk. It might have been, or the Art Walk. I think it was the Music Walk because we did Art Walk last time. I don't remember the fusion band playing there, but it's good that she keeps it where there's a diverse style, and that's what's needed. Again, if everyone's sounding the same, there's just no point. If there's only one color and it's blue or yellow or green, there's no variety. If there's only hamburgers, no hot, you know what I mean? There has to be that variety. That's what makes the world go round. Anyways, my friends, we will keep you posted. I think we're scheduled to play 6 to 10, but how our schedules when we get there? Sometimes it's 6:30. We'll keep you posted. I don't know if I'll be able to do anything live on Wednesday or not. Again, we're doing a lot of research on other platforms, but we'll keep people posted with that. But anyways, you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Until next time, you stay strong, safe, and true. Rock on, and God bless you. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it.